evening and welcome to Business Today on Channel I. On this program, we talk about many interesting topics in the business world, and today we have an interesting topic to talk about as well. So keep tuning in to today's episode as we discuss business today. Now, when we think of the name Uber and Uber Eats, I'm pretty sure that the name rings a bell, and I'm pretty sure that you have used their features and their services a lot as well. So today, to discuss these topics with us, we have with us Bhavna the General Manager of Uber Eats Sri Lanka, and Thanushika Sivanathan, the Country Manager of Uber Rides Sri Lanka. Good evening and welcome to the program.
Good evening. Thanks for having us.
Okay, now to start off, I'd like to know how and when exactly did Uber enter the Sri Lankan market?
Sure, yeah. Firstly, thanks so much for having us here, Prashant. Really great to be on the show with you. The way that we would normally look at it is if there is an exciting business opportunity for us, mixed with an opportunity to really support the communities or the cities that we're looking at expanding into, we would prioritize it. The brand entered Sri Lanka in 2015 with the mobility business. Delivery launched in Sri Lanka a couple of years later in 2018.
Okay.
And it's been an eventful journey so far, to say the least. So from setting benchmark to really supporting our communities, we're really proud to have displayed agility in adversity through it all.
Okay. And what are some of the challenges that you faced when you implemented the system for the first time in Sri Lanka, and what did you do to overcome those challenges?
Yeah, I think when we launched in 2015, it was ride sharing was still in the early stages, and the biggest challenge I would say is getting our driver partners get used to the app. Smartphone penetration was also quite low at that time, but it was picking up. So basically being on ground, helping drivers get used to the app, figuring out how they can use Google Maps and directions was definitely a big challenge. But Sri Lankans definitely learned it fast. They definitely beat the expectations we had. And right now I'm proud that both across Uber Eats and Rides, driver partners are able to self-sign up and actually start driving on their own with little help from us as well. So I think that has been the biggest challenge, and now we can say that we have successfully overcome that.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's been really about getting into the local market nuances, and in terms of what's helped us get there is the team. So hiring a superstar team on ground, which is now close to 100 between delivery and mobility in Sri Lanka.
Okay, that's great. Now, when it comes to COVID-19, the pandemic, this has really affected businesses, a lot of businesses in a negative way, and I'm pretty sure it was the same for you as well. But I can't help to point out that, you know, a lot of people, a lot of customers, myself, we really got onto the system and we got onto ordering a lot, especially from Uber Eats during the pandemic. So how were you able to really handle the pandemic? Was it a lot of positives, a lot of negatives? How was it?
Yeah, COVID was a couple of really challenging years for the country, and that forced us to rethink our processes, the way that we're looking at adding value to our customers, earners, and communities. Safety was top of mind for us, first off. And so that prompted us to take action, for instance, in donating 21 million rupees worth of PPE kits to our delivery and driver partners.
Okay.
In understanding a little bit more with regards to what our customers are looking for, we also launched grocery delivery services to enable access to essentials to our customers in the comfort of their homes. So it was a lot of being very agile through the challenges and risks, and in addition, just doing what we can to support earners and communities. So for instance, we donated 250 million rupees to our delivery and driver partners as part of COVID relief.
Okay.
We also joined hands with NGOs such as Voice for Voiceless to donate dry ration kits to communities across the country. We did continue expanding as well, and our technology and platform enabled us to do so, to be able to go into more cities to unlock that opportunity and convenience through the hardship that COVID brought about.
Okay.
Yeah, I think just to add on to that, we also kind of used that opportunity to mobilize our driver partners to support frontline workers during COVID. So while we had curfews all around, we had partnered with Red Cross and provided like 50,000 worth of rides for them free of charge for the frontline workers, and helping them, work around the clock. And that was one of the things that we feel really proud about, and we continue to look at what we can unlock during times of need for the country. And we'll continue to do the same in times to come. Yeah.
Great. And I'd also like to know, in what ways has Uber and Uber Rides and Uber Eats contributed to the Sri Lankan economy?
So we've just released our impact report focused on 2021.
Okay.
And we really wanted to understand the same as well. We knew that we were positively contributing, but how do we quantify that a little bit clearer? And so what the impact report showed us was that Uber as a whole contributed 81 billion rupees to the Sri Lankan economy in 2021. Our driver and delivery partners claimed that they earned 27% more in earnings as a result compared to their next best alternative option.
Okay. So they've earned more than when they were just maybe going on fares in their own personal tokes.
Their next best option.
Okay.
Yeah, so that could be alternate transport options or any other job as well. And that's largely because they really love the flexibility as well that the platform brings them.
Okay.
Other than that, we were able to add an incremental of 2.1 billion rupees to the merchant industry. So with the merchants who are on the platform, with just Uber Eats contributing 51 billion to the economy.
Okay.
So a lot of impact that was split across direct contribution, indirect contribution being the addition to the supply chain, as well as induce, which is the impact that the earnings of earners would have had, and how that impacts their purchasing power ultimately.
Okay. And you've provided a lot of job opportunities for people, especially riders, because we haven't really seen a lot of, as this many delivery partners around Sri Lanka before. So just tell us a bit about how you've created job opportunities for the Sri Lankan people.
Sure. So creating job opportunities is something that we've always been really passionate about. And since launching in Sri Lanka in 2015, we've been able to unlock tens of thousands of job opportunities across driver partners, delivery partners, and merchant partners. We truly believe that the technology and platform helps enable a lot of that as well. So, for example, we've had a couple of really challenging years over the last few years. Easter attacks, 2 years of COVID, and now the financial crisis. We've still been able to onboard, for instance, merchant partners through it all. So we've seen a lot of small businesses still get onto the platform and earn as a result of it. Each merchant partner would themselves support a group of individuals. So that has a real knock-on impact ultimately. We also have a program called Divya Tadiriya, which supports opportunities for marginalized communities. So really identifying communities who are not currently in the workforce and trying to enhance their experience to enable them to start earning. So a huge passion area for us, and the stories that come out as a result are so inspiring. For example, we recently met a lady who lost her job through COVID along with her husband, started a small business on the platform, a small restaurant on the platform soon after, and was very quickly earning more than she was in her previous employment. So a lot of inspiring stories in how individuals end up unlocking independence and reach for better quality lifestyles.
I think what's really important to note is that Uber provides that flexibility. So even when you have a job, you can actually drive for extra 2 hours and earn that extra income. I think that's what came out in the recent survey that we did as well, like Bhavna mentioned. And till date, we have provided opportunities to over 150,000 driver partners over the last 7 years, who has at least taken one trip. And now, particularly in the time of crisis right now, we see more partners signing up to make an extra income on our platform as well. And particularly if you own even like a bike, now we also have Uber Moto on the platform. So you can actually transport someone on the way to office, pick someone up and actually make and cover your petrol cost. So I think it is right now it's even more important, I think, having platforms like Uber contributing to the communities.
Okay, and do you think that Uber has changed the approach to public transportation in Sri Lanka?
Yeah, I think more like complemented. I think Uber complements to public transportation. So nearly 1 in 7 Uber trips actually end up connecting to a public transport in some way or the other. And in markets, even in Colombo in itself, there are areas where there's public transportation doesn't really cut through. So what riders do is they might take like a tuk, or now they also take moto to go to the bus stop, or a train, and then do their usual commute as well. So in that way, I think it has very much saved time. Previously, you might have to think a lot, okay, how do I get from point A to point B, or how do I catch the train? Now you can just, on demand, you can just get ready and book a trip and go to the train station. So I think that point on convenience has really changed and worked well with the public transportation we have in the country.
Okay, and you also mentioned that you've introduced the moto option for Uber as well. So there's a variety of options for you to choose from.
Correct.
And do you think by any chance you would incorporate even bigger means of transportation to carry a large quantity of people in the future maybe?
Yes, definitely. We are exploring options. I think when we launched Uber in Sri Lanka, we just launched with cars, and now we have about 7 to 8 options on the platform.
Yeah.
From tuks, moto, intercity, vans, minivans. So obviously the next option would be looking at how we can further expand and also work with other partners in the industry.
Great. And when it comes to passenger safety, that is a big concern for a lot of people, because when they use some sort of public transportation, or when they're traveling with someone else, maybe on their own as well, it's a big concern for them. So what steps have you taken to ensure passenger safety?
Yeah. So if you take, safety is actually at the heart of our operations, right? So we have been introducing industry first, safety features on the platform. From the time you book a ride, you will probably get like a push notification saying, verify your license plate. And when you get in, there is a safety toolkit on the app where you can connect to, emergency line, like directly to the police. Or we also have a 24/7 safety line with the on-ground support team here. So you can just call them, and in case of any emergencies, they will assist you. And I think the most used feature that I would say that which is something I'm also a big fan of is the share my trip option, wherein if you're traveling in the night, particularly for females, when you can travel, you can have trusted contacts saved on Uber itself, and you can share with your parents or your partner and make sure someone's tracking you as well. And same goes to the driver partners as well. I think both drivers and customers have to feel safe being on the platform. And one most interesting feature that we launched a couple of years ago is the ride check option. So while you're on trip, in case you're stationary and you're taking a different route, Uber will prompt and ask both the driver partner and rider, is everything okay? In case we don't get a response, there'll be a call from the safety team as well. So likewise, we will continue focusing on this. I think one thing that came out in a recent economic impact report was also that safety is the biggest value prop why a rider uses Uber, as opposed to public transportation or any other alternative or hail a tuk on the road.
Yeah.
So that is definitely one of the things that we will continue to focus on and introduce new features as well as we go on.
Yeah, and we also collect data through every single step of the process, which helps us constantly monitor that and figure out how to keep getting better.
Okay.
So yeah, absolutely something we're really passionate about.
Okay, that's great. And tell me a bit about ride sharing and also Uber's contribution to sustainability, because that is a topic which a lot of companies and corporates are focusing on nowadays. Tell us a bit more about this.
Yeah, so ride sharing essentially increases mobility, but what we need to note is that it is also on demand, right? And it's shared. So for example, if I own a vehicle, I can pick someone on my way to office, right, and thereby reducing the number of vehicles on the road, right? And there is also, if you take also a tuk, there is also the utilization factor. If you take a tuk on the road, if it travels from Bamlapitiya to Nungegoda, if you want to take a trip back, you have to kind of find a rider on the road or come to the main road. Whereas if you're on Uber, if the driver is listed on Uber, he can get a trip just 100 meters from his drop-off location, and that extra extra time spent driving, finding another rider is also eliminated, right? So it is proven that, you know, ride sharing has higher utilization rate than general taxis on the road as well. And I think one other interesting point that has come up, I think particularly relevant for Sri Lanka, is that it also reduces, you know, vehicle ownership levels. I mean, including myself, I don't own a vehicle and I rely completely on Uber to travel from A to B. And that has also come out, I think 67% of our riders on the platform actually said that the presence of Uber and ride sharing platforms in the country has actually encouraged them to, you know, refrain from purchasing a vehicle as well. So this will be, I think, overall, I think that is one of the biggest thing that in Sri Lanka particularly, that ride sharing has contributed to sustainability. But we also are focusing heavily on how we can look at more sustainable modes of transportation like electrification and electric bikes. I think especially for Uber Eats, we have started.
Absolutely. So we actually launched bicycle deliveries earlier this year, which was in response to the fuel scarcity, but also aligned to our long-term ambition for a greener country. And that's just that's picked up a lot of excitement. So recently we crossed 100,000 deliveries on bicycles, and on some weeks we do 30% of overall deliveries on bicycles as well. We've also started experimenting with electric bicycles. So absolutely, it's going to be a continued focus where we'll keep trying to increase the contribution of it and keep experimenting with other electric vehicles going ahead as well.
Okay, and also technology nowadays is something that a lot of people can take advantage of. Do you have any plans of incorporating new technologies, maybe things that we haven't seen in Sri Lanka, to make the ride easier for people?
Well, one thing that we're feel very strongly about is staying close to the customer and what the customer ultimately wants. Also ways to continually keep enhancing the earner experience. So with both those top of mind for us, we would always look at our tech from a global perspective as well as from a country perspective to understand what can we do going forward to keep improving that experience across our marketplace. So for customers, merchants, drivers and delivery partners.
Okay, and I'd also like to know how Uber Eats has encouraged people to support local merchants and restaurants.
Sure, yeah. So I guess just taking a step back, when Uber Eats came into the market in 2018, it made a significant impact on the F&B industry overall. And just thinking through why that would be. So the service brought about a convenience that really excited customers on ground, which meant that in a couple of taps, you could receive the craving of your choice just a few minutes later. And that excitement then unlocked a lot of opportunities for local merchant partners. From the recent impact report that we shared, close to 90% of customers indicated that they would use this service to look for a merchant partner that they haven't tried before. Close to 80% mentioned that they actually tried a restaurant for the first time utilizing the platform. So that just gives an indication of how it unlocks opportunities for local merchant partners ultimately, especially over the last couple of years that have been really challenging for the country. A lot of merchant partners claim that they were able to continue their business because of the services that the platform provided.
And I'm guessing this was really evident during the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, because there was curfew all around the island. A lot of people couldn't really head out, but due to the convenience, it was you get all these options in your fingertips. So I'm guessing that period must have really helped out a lot of restaurants and merchants.
Absolutely, and we saw an addition to the number of merchant partners on the platform overall, again, which the tech also really supported in enabling. So you did not have to be at a town center or in Colombo to be able to join the platform and start earning from it, but rather you can get onboarded from wherever you are and start tapping into that earnings opportunity by serving the customers in that area.
Okay. Now, before we wind up, I'd like to ask you, what are your plans for the future of Uber and Uber Eats? Do you have anything that you're planning on introducing to the customers in the future?
I mean, one thing we're very passionate about is building in Sri Lanka for the next few decades, not just next year. So our focus is going to continue, and we will keep innovating as we go along as well. To call out a couple of things, our focus on sustainability will absolutely continue. So we've started off with bicycles, electric bicycles this year, but we want to go a lot further in the years to come. We want to continue unlocking opportunities for those who are not currently in the workforce. That's another area that we feel very strongly about. Also, we'll touch on essentials deliveries. So we notice a lot of our customers wanting to receive deliveries from the comfort of their own homes. We want to go a lot further in adding that value across the cities that we're in.
Yeah, and I mean, just to add to that, I think one other thing is we'll also continue expanding to new geographies. Right now we are in about 40 cities across the 4 districts, but we want to continue providing that opportunity for that flexible earning opportunity for partners also, and also providing that convenient travel option for more consumers across Sri Lanka. And also, like I said, we'll continue, we'll be continuing to introduce new products. Now already we have about 7 to 8, and we want to keep adding new modalities to the platform as well. So I think we just scratched the surface, and we have miles to go for both Uber and Uber Eats in Sri Lanka.
Great. Well, we're looking forward for those new features which will be rolling out soon, I presume. Well, that winds up today's episode of Business Today, and we had with us Bhavna Jayawardena, the General Manager of Uber Eats Sri Lanka, as well as Thanushika Sivanathan, the Country Manager of Uber Rides Sri Lanka. Thank you so much for being with us this evening.
Thank you, Prashant.
And that winds up today's episode of Business Today. Do join us next week as well. Till then, have a good night.